and welcome everyone. So we are back with our new video, and that is on construction safety. And today in construction safety, what we are going to look at is so you all are aware that we were discussing construction safety with these 9-element division, and when we were discussing this, so we have covered mostly quite a lot of things here up to work permit system and all. And last time we discussed about how to introduce site, what was there. So this is today, it's part 2 of occupational health hazard, their control measures in construction work. So let us start what and we'll discuss further. So in today's element, that is element 9, occupational health hazard and their control measures in construction work. What are the main problems? So the main problems on construction work, there are multiple choices and there are multiple reasons. Now you have to understand this in construction sector there are a lot of things that have come into picture that are actually not helping the construction work, rather it is affecting it at a very bad level. So what happens when this there is always a sunny side and there is always a bad side and there is always a good side, right? So when we talk of problems in construction work, so first and foremost thing is, what is the root of these problems? The root of these problems is that first, the sector is completely unorganized. Now you cannot expect there are laborers and they are hired and you start working, right? You don't know their skills, you have not assessed their skills, you don't know how much competent they are, whether they have worked, what is their job profile. And in construction they are not hired like that. Yes, mostly in India specifically, they are hired just like that, right? Now the second biggest challenge is that there are multiple tasks at the same time. So there are multiple tasks involved, and when there are multiple tasks involved, there are multiple hazards. Now the laborers are unskilled. That is the biggest challenge, because you don't know, they don't have any formal qualification kind of criteria. They have just learned from the work that they have been doing since years. Then there is a high turnover of labor when it comes to huge quantum of work so spread. There are projects, infrastructure project or construction project may be in it, right? So there's a huge turnover. Then there are multiple contractors and subcontractors working on the same site. That results into another biggest challenge when it comes to the project, the leads. And the last but not the least, the biggest factor that comes to the most effective part of it, and that is the lowest awareness among those people who get affected. They are not aware of hazards, they are not aware what can go wrong, they are not aware what is wrong with them, right? So this is the negligence part also comes here. So low awareness among those people. Now these are the main problems on a construction site. Now let us discuss along with these main issues, what are the major diseases that are being tested, or rather what are the occupational diseases associated with the construction work. Let us see. Okay. So promotion and maintenance of high degree of physical, mental and social well-being in employees in all occupations at all locations shall be the objective of the owner of each premises. Correct? Now occupational diseases, there are 15 notifiable occupational diseases mentioned in the building and other construction work as per schedule 2 of the act. When the building worker contracts any of these diseases as mentioned here, a notice in form 13 shall be sent to the Director General. Now, what are these diseases? First, occupation dermatitis. Now, occupational dermatitis means skin-based allergies. Then, occupational cancers, asbestosis, silicosis, lead poisoning, including poisoning by any preparation or compound of lead or their sequel. Now, sixth is benzene poisoning, including poisoning by any of its homogeneous, their nitro or amino derivatives or its sequel. Now, occupational asthma. It is not, there is a difference there, but we cannot go in much detail. That you have to understand by the doctor itself. That will be much better. Right? Occupational asthma. Then pesticide poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning, toxic jaundice, toxic anemia, compressed air illness, that is Garrison diseases, noise-induced hearing loss, isocyanate poisoning, and toxic nephricides. Now these are 15 diseases that are mentioned in BOCW Act, which we need to take care, and if these things happen, then it is to be informed to the Director General by a written formal form. Correct? So these are, there is always a gloomy side of it, and there is always a rosy side of it in construction side. Now we have to understand what are these. So no man is without occupation, that you have to understand. Everybody on construction site is working. So this is a good sign. Like, it's big or small, there is always work. Correct? No occupation without hazard. There is, no occupation. Now you have to understand. There is not a single occupation which is without hazard, right? Hazards are always going to be there. And then no treatment or most of the occupational diseases. Now, these are the gloomy sides, that no man without occupation, no occupation without hazards, and no treatment for most occupational diseases. You have to understand, this is the gloomy side of it. There is no possibility that all these things can be eliminated. It is there. It is always there. It is always going to be there. Right? Now you have to understand the rosy side of it. Most are 100% preventable. Now all these diseases are mostly preventable, so it is very easy. Now the second point is casualty factor, known, identifiable, measurable, and are controllable also. Population at risk are known, supervisable, and controllable also. Environmental boundaries are well defined and controllable also. Early diagnosis are also possible due to long, because it is a long period of exposure. So early diagnosis are also available. Now, construction work primarily involves certain things that we need to see. We last time also discussed this, then because we have to come to the hazard, so we need to discuss this part. Okay, so let us see first that what are the occupations in a construction site. So first and foremost thing is that we need to understand why it is required to be known. The very first aspect is that building construction is going on, transport, road, bridges, railways, industrial infrastructure development is going on. So all these things, they come with their own specific requirements. So overall, in a construction activity, like what we discussed last time, there are these 22 job profiles. Now, what are these 22 job profiles? It is very simple. There are going to be managers and supervisors on site. Correct? So there is going to be a lot of occupational opportunities when it comes to employment. This is the reason why this sector gives so much of employment. Managerial and supervisor will be there. Plasterers will be there, masons will be there, carpenters will be there, roofers will be there, concrete handlers will be there, scaffolders will be there, transport workers will be there, electricians will be there, painters will be there, demolition workers will be there, insulation workers will be there. Now roof insulation workers or roof work is a separate So roofers are separate and roof insulation workers are separate. So that they are going to be there. Then equipment operators are going to be there. Riggers are going to be there. Laborers and helpers are going to be there. Steel fixers and erectors are going to be there. Landscapers are to be there. Pipe fitters and plumbers are there. Tilers are there. Welder cutters are there, and plasters are there. So imagine there's a huge potential when it comes to employment in construction. So on construction work, such huge potential also happens to have lot of hazards and risk as well. So let us try and understand now, based on, because you need to know what kind of work profiles are there. So now based on these work profiles, there are hierarchy of controls. So whenever we are defining. So now let us see occupational health hazard and their control measures in construction work. Hierarchy of control sequence in construction. So like we were explaining, now when it comes to hierarchy of control, we have to define it in a very systematical way. Now this is a reverse pyramid, everybody is aware of it, where the bottom or the last resource is PPE, and what we usually do is that in construction activity we only know the hierarchy of controls, that okay, hierarchy of control is elimination, substitution, elimination, engineering control or administrative control, and PPs. So this is not this is just an example. This is how you need to define, but in that you have to define it as per your site activity. So when it comes to construction, you have to explain it in a systematic way that yes, these things are possible and this is how you need to do. So on the very top is elimination, whether it is possible to eliminate any particular hazard or from any particular activity, so you can do that. If we are not able to eliminate, then can we substitute it? So we can do some substitution work. Okay, here equipment and men both are to be incorporated. Then can you control the hazard at source? Now there are ways and means that a hazard can be controlled at source. Correct. So first and foremost thing is that you need to know where the hazard lies. Now, if the hazard is there, then whether you are able to control it on site at source. How you can do that? You can have the barricade, you can have the enclosure of it, you can have a lot of things. Correct? You can do a lot of things there. Then removing the person from the hazard. Now what happens is that there is a excavation activity happening, or digging activity happening, or dusting activity is happening. So a lot of dust is happening, so that hazard is there and people are also standing there. So can you eliminate, can you remove the person from this hazard? Can you have get this done through equipments or machines only? Can we have it can we have the person in an enclosure or something like that? So is that possible? So you can do that. Then comes, no, there on a construction site there are so many things lying here and there haphazardly. So if we segregate them properly, so we will be able to eliminate or effectively handle the hazards. You just segregate things, right? You put them in a place, put them in the right direction. So segregation means that. Then comes to ergonomics. So you have to segregate things in such a way that ergonomically also they are easy to lift. So some bars are lying here, some pipes are lying there, some boards are lying there, and people don't actually focus on how they are going to lift it. They simply lift it, okay, lift it and put it there, lift it and put it there. No, tell them ergonomically how you are supposed to handle the material. So that part of training is required to be given. Then comes written procedures. Now written procedures are, you have to understand it is on the bottom line. And why? Because it is the most least effective, because people are going to come on your site who are not going to be aware of the procedures. They are not accustomed to procedures of your site specifically. But at least written procedures on site are, a guide that this is how our site is going to perform. This is how our site is going to have the activities done. So it is very much required, because you're not going to, the people who are making the procedures are not going to be there on site, right? So you cannot expect the senior guys to be on site, because they are the ones who are going to, prepare the written procedures as a guide for the managers and supervisors. Then the role of managers and supervisors is to contribute to this and then implement it and make sure that they are being followed.
Now coming to adequate supervision. Now you have to understand that on a construction site, one supervisor is doing n number of things. It is not possible. He is not divided in 10 different activities. He will never be able to assess all activities. So dedicated or adequate supervisions are to be provided for each activity, so that there is at least, if not a supervisor, but a spotter is also there, that okay, stop, boss told me that this is how it is to be done, and you are not supposed to do it like this. So at least he is able to stop things. So adequate supervision is required there. Then and then, when it comes to providing an adequate supervision, so what can facilitate it? Training can facilitate. First train a person and then you depute it. Simple. So training is also a very effective, administrative control. But it is just an administrative control. So training, you don't know how much is going into the person's head, but you have to at least keep on giving it repeatedly, so that repeatedly, the things are punched in their brains, so that they are at least able to do things in a proper and a systematic way. Right? Not even this, then finally, when nothing works, then PPs are always there. But PPs are, the last resort. They are not going to protect you. They are just going to protect some of your body parts, right? Okay, you can have a cut level glove, but if there is a shearing action happening, so it will definitely crush your hand, it will definitely cut your hand, right? So glove can only prevent from certain level of injuries that will happen. So PP is, that's why, the least effective. Similarly, breathing apparatus, nobody is going to wear a breathing apparatus altogether, right? People wear mask, people hardly wear mask on site. So that's the reason, and that let us talk practical on this. That this activity is a heavy working, heavy duty activity, heavy work activities there. So people are bound to do it. But at least if they are made aware, they will have some level of, procedural activity and procedural follow-ups. Okay. So I hope, keep liking, keep sharing, and do not forget to subscribe our channel. We'll keep on posting more such videos. Thank you very much.